In this comparative study, I'll be looking at how film elements in Mad Max Fury Road and The Matrix emphasize the struggle of the protagonist's fight against authority. The Matrix is a 1999 science fiction film created by the Wachowskis. It follows Thomas Anderson, a computer programmer who goes by the hacker alias Neo. Neo discovers that he is in a world that is a simulated reality created by intelligent machines to subdue and control humanity. Mad Max Fury Road is a 2015 film directed by George Miller. It introduces Immortan Joe, a tyrannical leader of the Citadel, a post-apocalyptic fortress that controls the most vital resource of the desert: water. I chose action as my film focus, as both of these films exhibit many of the tropes that action movies have. Both Mad Max Fury Road and The Matrix are similar in the fact that their worlds have been destroyed by authoritative powers. In Mad Max Fury Road, a combination of resource wars and environmental catastrophes led to the collapse of society. In The Matrix, humans were able to create AI, or artificial intelligence. This AI was able to become sentient, and they began taking over the world. In response, the humans scorched the sky. It was believed that the machines survived on the power of the sun, which was true, but they were able to create the Matrix, a neuro-interactive world that generated power through body heat, which allowed them to stay alive, but because the sky was scorched, it killed off the rest of the humans and forced them underground. In Mad Max Fury Road, music is explicitly used by Immortan Joe to reinforce his dictatorship. The Doofwagon is a tangible example of this. It radiates diegetic sound across the wasteland and reinforces Joe's authoritative approach. Contrast this with The Matrix. Music here is used to emphasize how characters fight against authority. It is often very energetic and technical. As opposed to Mad Max, where much of the sound comes from drums or guitars, music here is very electronic. This electronic music was used not only because it was highly popular in the late 1990s, but because of the technological context of The Matrix. The machines would be more likely to create electronic music seen here. Additionally, this high-intensity music allows us to better connect with our protagonists in their fight against authority. As for the use of sound, in Mad Max, the V8 engine is used as a sign of power. The war rig, throughout the entire film, is being anthropomorphized through the use of sound. To do this at first, George Miller used imagery. In this scene, the war rig is on fire and they put it out by dousing it in sand. To do this, they close the air intake, otherwise it'll pull sand into the engine and break the engine. When they open them back up, it sounds like the engine is taking a breath. And by the end of the film, he uses the sound of whales and bears in pain to mark the end of the war rig. This is done to show that a living thing, rather than a machine, has died and to emphasize its effect on our protagonists. In The Matrix, sounds are used much the same. Fight scenes have emphasized punching and kicking sounds, which, in combination with musical cues, emphasize the fight scene, and furthermore, our characters' fight against authority. Cinematography is used in both films to give or subtract power from somebody. Here, the war rig is being filmed at a low angle. This is used to showcase the authority and intimidation that the war rig has, even in the face of overwhelming opposition. In The Matrix, agents possess the omnipotent power to transform into any person still plugged into the Matrix. This was represented by a digital effect of people's hands or faces turning in on themselves. The grotesque transformations of these agents foreshadow the difficulty they will present our protagonists. This is emphasized with a push into Trinity, a shaky cam when Neo tries to shoot at the agent, while our agent's camera is static, which shows that they are confident in defeating our protagonists. Trinity! All of this is turned in on itself, however, with Neo's bullet time scene. An effect like this has not been seen in The Matrix before. Its presence signals a pivotal moment in the story, as it's Neo's awakening against the machines. And this is important because
every single man or woman who has stood their ground, everyone who has fought an agent has died. But where they have failed, you will succeed.
Why?
Slow motion is used in both films to mark the beginning of our action sequences. Here, this car being caught in a buzzard trap is the first bit of destruction that we get, and its emphasis through the use of slow motion is used to mark the beginning of Furiosa's fight against Immortan Joe. In The Matrix, Trinity's arcing shot, coupled with slow motion, is used not only to focus the audience's attention on her, but to emphasize the power that she has over the armed police officers. Finally, in Mad Max Fury Road, strategic use of practical explosions were used to emphasize our character's defiance and the controlling presence of authority. This explosion was also used to demonstrate a pivotal moment in our protagonist's fight. It's their first real win throughout the entire movie, and it only goes to emphasize the effect that I mentioned before. Dialogue through both films is used to introduce our authority. In The Matrix, Morpheus tells us how the world collapsed and how the machines took over. He tells us that the Matrix is a
Neural interactive simulation.
that the machines have built to generate electricity for their empire. At first, Neo can't believe this. He wants to go back into the Matrix, and he doesn't want to face the reality of his situation. At this moment in time, he believes that it's an unwinnable fight, a notion that Cypher is already subscribed to. However, with a little training, by the end of the film, he's able to take on agents alone, something that was strongly advised against in the beginning of the film. In Mad Max Fury Road, our world is introduced by narration from our main character.
My world is fire and blood.
He tells us his name, something that he doesn't do again until the end of the film,
My name is Max.
likely because he hasn't been captured by Immortan Joe yet. Once he is, he's beaten down, he's put in a cage, and he's generally set aside for our other protagonist. Because of Immortan Joe's treatment of Max, it gives him a pretty good reason not to trust any outsiders. When he first meets Furiosa, it's immediately a standoff. He's also making very incoherent sounds, which can be a result of the trauma that he's endured either from Immortan Joe or from the other dangers of the wasteland. He tries to steal the war rig, and when it's revealed that it has kill switches, he's forced to work with Furiosa, but not before he confiscates all their guns, and when she asks him what his name is,
What's your name?
he doesn't say anything. However, by the end of the film, when Immortan Joe is dead, he tells her his name.
My name is Max.
This reflects not only the immense character development that Max has gone through throughout the movie, but it also relates the existence of authority and its oppressing effect on our character's behavior. In both the beginning to middle of Mad Max Fury Road and The Matrix, all the fight scenes are done in an attempt to get away from authority. Both Immortan Joe and the machines are unstoppable forces. Our protagonists wouldn't be able to defeat them even if they tried, and they spend the better half of both movies in defensive positions. Here, the crew of the Nebuchadnezzar can do nothing but watch as the Sentinels pass by, and here, through an extreme wide shot, we see the three forces that are chasing Furiosa. After she entered the canyon, she had originally planned to make a deal with the bikers for safe passage, but because of the approaching war party, the deal was cut and a fight scene ensues. As there is no other choice but to go on the defensive and run, much like we see here in The Matrix. We aren't shown a tangible example of the power of the agents, she just starts running immediately. In conclusion, fight scenes throughout both films serve to emphasize the power of authority, which is done through either direct narration,
Everyone who has fought an agent has died.
visual reinforcement of power, and through the general avoidance of conflict between both protagonists in both films. The Matrix was produced in an industry founded on practical effects. CGI had been used in the industry before, but not to the extent that The Matrix took it. It revolutionized the film industry and opened up a new door to what was possible on the big screen. Now could you not only crash a helicopter into a skyscraper, you can use CGI to visually emphasize that The Matrix isn't quite real. Additionally, Neo's bullet time scene was truly the first time an effect like this had ever been used in the film industry. It paved the way for how Hollywood approached visual effects, post-production, and choreographed action. Now let's take Mad Max Fury Road. It was created in an industry where CGI had become commonplace in the decades that followed The Matrix. Instead of using CGI to emphasize a particular plot point, they would use CGI all the time, and it would lose its meaning. The director George Miller went against the industry standard of the time. He opted to use as little CGI as possible. This was done because he wanted to use CGI to contribute to the story rather than substitute for it.